Hey everyone, and welcome back to Scarlet Sprites. We are about halfway through the summer here in Pennsylvania, and I feel like my recent pickups for the Neo Geo have been as hot as the recent weather. And that has me really pumped full of enthusiasm because I was going to save everything for an end of summer pickup wrap-up session. But honestly, I've been far too excited with what has unfolded so far already, and I just decided, why wait? Let's take a look at my hottest 3 grabs of the summer so far. Back in May when I bought Neo Bomberman, I talked a little bit about my Neo Geo collection consisting of only US editions and/or English labels on the carts. And while that's been true for the longest period of time, it seems that 2018 is the year that has gone completely out the window. I think I tried to hold myself to some type of structure and standard by establishing this rule early on, and well yeah, it's completely out the window. The first pickup in today's video, Money Puzzle Exchanger. Now I'll be completely honest and say I didn't know too much about this one. Someone commented on a video a while back, and I unfortunately just can't remember who it was, but they asked if I preferred this over Magical Drop 3. I couldn't make a comparison at the time because I had never played Money Puzzle Exchanger. As a side note, to date, I sadly still haven't actually sat and spent time with this yet. I've heard that it is kind of an acquired taste, but that once you get the hang of it, it can be really addicting. There was no US release of this for Neo Geo, so this is of course the Japanese cart. I'm aware that the Korean cart actually has the game's name spelled out in English, and by my old collection rule, that would have been preferred. But at this point, I just don't care. I do think it's odd that the metallic SNK security sticker is slapped right on the front over top of the label. Typically that is on the side of the cart, but hey, what are you gonna do? Speaking of playing Neo Geo games, I do have another somewhat obscure rule for myself. To date, if I've never played the game, I've banned myself from emulating it. Neo Geo is the only system that I have this rule for. Any other retro console, I'm all for trying something out before chasing down a copy. That is, if I even still desire a legit physical copy after test driving it. I know it sounds odd that I do that for Neo since its games are typically really expensive. You're probably thinking that I could easily end up burning myself with some less than stellar titles, and you'd be 100% correct in that assumption. It's a risk similar to what you would have sometimes taken back in the day after only reading a review and looking at pictures in EGM or GamePro. I know it may seem odd, but it really helps me to recapture the magic and excitement of not only getting a brand new cartridge game, but also experiencing it for the very first time after placing it into your console. And on that note, that is a good lead into the next title I picked up, a full kit, and another game that I've never played, Matra Melee. This is of course another Japanese pickup. Truth be told, I would have loved the banana yellow cartridge that the US version came with. The problem is that it is just becoming so rare to come across, and even the Japanese carts are starting to become a little bit more difficult to find. The bright green is still a really cool color, and as a consolation, the label does still say Matra Melee in English. The kit contains the extras you might expect, the dip switch settings, the cabinet stickers that you find each character's moves on, a small instructions poster, and a mini marquee that is sadly printed on paper and not the typical plastic translite material seen with most other releases. Thanks a lot, Playmore. The gameplay you're seeing now is me actually playing this for the very first time. It wasn't too terrible of an outing overall, and I found that I started to get some of the timing down pretty quickly. The game also reminded me a lot of Rage of the Dragons, both from a style and gameplay standpoint. And just as I was starting to think that, I realized that Jimmy in the game was the same Jimmy from Rage of the Dragons, and then it all began to connect for me, and I remembered that Noise Factory was involved with making both of these games. Rage of the Dragons is one of my favorite fighters on the Neo Geo, and so it goes without saying that the little bit of time that I spent with this I really enjoyed. The only real annoyance I had while playing this was a match that ended in a draw, and rather than getting another round, the game just ended and prompted me to continue. That sure as hell made that draw feel an awful lot like a loss, and I can imagine that had I been playing this in an actual arcade and had been required to pop another quarter in, I would have been pretty pissed off. That minor gripe aside, this felt like a pretty fun title, and I'll definitely be popping this into the cabinet on my next rotation. Alright, saving the best for last in today's video, I now have a copy of the growing, ever more scarce Ganryu. Sadly, no kit or extras for this one, it is cart only. I do, however, really love the translucent blue shell that is found on this and several other later Neo Geo titles. Actually, the clear shells in general, regardless of color, are always nice to have on a Neo Geo game. Their aesthetics aside, they give you a really easy way of verifying the authenticity of a game without having to actually open it up. The cart features a holographic label, which is something else that is fairly common on later Neo Geo titles. The game does have something that I've never seen before, an authenticity sticker across one of the screw coverings. There aren't many side-scrolling action games available for the Neo Geo, and so picking up yet another non-fighting, non-sports title and adding it to the collection was something I was pretty excited about. Because of my aforementioned rule though, I had never played Ganryu until popping it into my console for the first time this past weekend. Graphically, I'll be honest, it's a little weak, especially considering the time period. It does feature a cinematic-like story with average artwork and also has a character selection screen. The actual gameplay isn't half bad, but the high jumping does take some getting used to, as well as the chain attack. I've heard this referred to as Ninja Gaiden on Neo Geo, and while I definitely wouldn't call it that, it's certainly a decent game in its own right. If you want to see more of this and hear about my debacle of actually getting this cart delivered, check out the next Just One vlog in a few days. And that's it guys, only 3 games, but 3 titles that I would consider hot summer pickups for any Neo Geo enthusiast. If you've played any of these, please comment below and let me know what you think. I'd also be interested in hearing if any of you have your own hot summer pickups. Definitely drop those down below as well. As always, thanks so much for watching guys and taking the time. I really appreciate that. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you all next time. Later guys.